All right, guys, so this video is going to be a troubleshooting video. Any errors or any malfunctions you occur, this is where you want to be. Okay, so first things first. Okay, we're clear. All right, good to go. So we talked about the installation, right? So if you ever, real quick, so before I get into that, you installed everything correctly, right? You installed it, put everything back in. Okay, great. Two problems you'll usually get. One would be you can't rack the slide back. Okay. You can't rack it back, right? So in that case, same way as it is for this, you'll get a sticky slide, which it'll lock back all the way to the rear when you fire a round or two, or even after it heats up. You may experience a few bursts or maybe a mag, but at some point it may start to lock back. Okay. Now, two things you're going to want to do. Definitely want to get a 22-pound recoil spring to combat against that sticky slide. Okay. The trip is sitting. So let me just take this apart so you can see exactly what's happening. This is how the trip sits in front of the feed ramp on the barrel, right? So what'll happen is, in regards to the sticky slide happening, the trip is going back very far, and it's pushing up, because when you squeeze your trigger finger, all right, here's your cruciform. See, when I pull, the reset is fine, and that's the slide going back. That's the slide going back. So that's clear because the trip is low. But soon as it hits the back, finger goes on the trigger and the trip will push up, right? This is how it looks. And then right when it's coming back, as soon as it hits the back, now it's traveling forward back in the battery. So your trip is pushing up. And if you squeeze too hard, or even in general, this is pushing up underneath the barrel. Okay. And you'll get premature, slide lock up, because the trip is going back far line for the barrel to sit under, and then when it comes back, pushing up, and it pushes up right under the hood of the slide. Okay. And that'll create friction, and over time with heat, as far as heat and expansion, it'll start to get slick. It'll start to get sticky. Okay. So what you're going to want to do is, for either case, whether you can't lock the slide back, right, if it's too, if you can't rack it back, you're just going to want to sand or file or Dremel. Just be careful with the Dremel right here in the front, in a slanted diagonal cut. Okay, right here. And you're just going to take your time, be patient, and you're just going to want to file or Dremel back and forth. And then you'll pop your trip halfway out, right? You don't have to pop the trigger pin all the way out. In this case, this is different. So this one I have cut. Now this one is a little bit flatter than I would like, but it still did the job. None of this has to be precise and accurate, but you want to just file right there. And as you can see, it's not a big difference, but that's what's happening. You can't get around it. If you keep trying to cut down on this trip, to where it never locks back. No matter how hard you pull the trigger, it won't work, because this is what's stopping the barrel, from going, for basically getting hammer follow. So if it's too low and it's tripping, it'll just push your finger back out. But the lockup, the timing lockup on the barrel is already home, so it won't fire, and the cruciform, it'll drop, but the lug on the firing pin won't catch on anything. So just keep that in mind as far as trying to make it in, perfect. Like, oh, I want to squeeze it as hard as I can. That won't happen. So as long as you keep light pressure on the trigger and it's going back fine, then you're good, right? But for example, and with 45 cal, 40 cal, and the 43X slimline models, you won't have to do this. I dropped the trip in here as is. I had one taller than this when it was sharp, and it went, it went right in. There may be a slight break-in period where you will. I know the first time I did this one, the Glock 21, I had to put 30 rounds through it. It would, have some hiccups where it'll stutter and lock back and then go forward. Um, Give it a break-in period, and then usually after 20, 30 rounds, it'll settle in and it'll go. But that was me just dropping in a sharp. Mind you, I had it. The ones you have now aren't even as sharp as the ones I've had it. But again, not necessary for your 43X, 45 larger caliber models. Now, there are a few things you can do to not, you know, have to go crazy. As you see, this barrel isn't polished. The slide isn't polished. For Glock models, OEM, there hasn't been much of an issue where I needed to polish or anything like that. For the dagger, I did polish the whole barrel and everything. And as you can see, I have a slightly downward slope on it. So right there, I sanded just a little bit, so that way it didn't completely lock up on its way back. But again, it's not necessary. Tribulations or errors you may have. Okay, so again, when you pull the trigger,